Welcome to another episode of Seb Talks. I'm here with the co-founder of Discover, which is, well, we'll hear all about that in a second, Rick Porter. How are you, Rick?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. We met each other in Turkey at Solana Crossroads
Yep.
and very, very keen on what you've been building. But it was the first time I've kind of heard about it. So what is Discover? And of course, who are you?
Yeah, so my name is Rick Porter. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Discover, DSCVR.ONE, so Discover.ONE. Discover is a Web3 social network. Our mission really is about opening up ownership, monetization, and distribution. So it's like we really think about those users, creators, and projects. And so what we're trying to do here is maximize the monetization and distribution for those projects and creators, but giving ownership and monetization to the users themselves.
Nice.
We've been around for about 2.5, 3 years at this point. And we're grown to about 500,000 users, 500,000 connected wallets across various platforms. We see about 75,000 daily active users on average. There's quite a bit of spikes every once in a while. But like sometimes a lot of people haven't heard of us. We really don't spend on marketing. Our marketing budgets are extremely low. We're just a heavy engineering team. So I think 9 engineers out of an 18-person company. And I would say we have our traditional product people. So we have a product person out of Facebook. Our head of engineering is ex-Tesla, spent about 6 years there. So, he went through the gauntlet. But it's a pretty focused team on building product and consumer applications. Discover really started off as like a protocol. But like we wanted to grow users. So we shifted a lot of focus on making sure the product meets the user's needs. And the growth speaks for itself. I think there's a lot more to go though. I think there's a multi-million users inside of crypto, but I think outside of crypto, it's very well possible to cross that line.
Well, this is probably a good time to show people what it is, because sometimes it hasn't reached some people's radars. So do you want to give us a quick demonstration?
Yeah, for sure. So this is the Discover platform. This is the landing page. You can just scroll down and you can jump it right into the feed. And it's a pretty standard social network from like almost a mix between Reddit or Facebook. So we have these things called portals, which are on the left side, which are just sub communities. And then you have your main feed in the middle. And your main feed is like, it's a pretty sophisticated algorithm, but it determines like what's trending on the platform, communities that you're part of, communities that you're related to, and users you're following and users that they're following and that you've engaged with. So the default feed just takes the sum of all of those and computes what is getting the most engagement and what is getting the most traction. And it's a bit curated too, but as you can see, like you have a pretty standard feed here, and we have like basic reactions, comments right within inside the feed, which are really popular. People are always trying to people just don't like clicking into posts. People just want to do like everything right from the feed. And we have the possibility of like pairing your wallet, like sign up process is pretty seamless. You can use, sign with your Google account, which is actually the most popular, or you can sign in with like your Phantom wallet or just a username and password. And it really just depends on the persona of the user on what they want to use. We're seeing a lot more traction with wallet sign in than we're seeing with Google sign in, but Google sign in is like 80-90% of the users. It's really hard to beat that. But we've been working on Discover, what I was saying, for about 3 years. And I think the product has gone through so many iterations. But to me, what our primary approach has been like product first over protocol. But the protocol, it sits there. It's like, I would say if we were to dedicate time to launching it completely, it's probably about 4 to 5 months away. It currently does like 4 or 5 TPS spikes, obviously a lot higher. But like everything on Discover, every interaction you do is a mutation to our protocol. So it just kind of sits there, takes in transactions, mutates itself, or like updates itself. And there's so much like integrations that we've been doing. So like we have the ability to actually like purchase things directly from the feed. So you can have we have a Magic Eden integration, a Tensor integration, and obviously the Jupyter terminal is integrated. So those are kind of our first sets of our API. We also have this concept of like loot boxes. So people can claim NFTs that users created directly from the feed. People can claim tokens directly from the feed. So the idea there is like, we have these targeting algorithms that are based off of the social graph. And basically what happens is users participate with inside of the platform. And as they're growing a reputation with inside of the platform, they're also having a paired wallet. And so we're able to intersect the paired wallet that they have and that social graph that they've been growing on Discover and reward users relative to their participation. And partners come in and do that. People come in and say, hey, I want to do an airdrop to specific types of users who have a specific type of social graph and asset graph, and I want to reward them based off that information. And I think the targeting algorithms and stuff are, it takes a lot of time to explain them, but the high level is we try to intersect both of their social graphs and asset graphs to do that. But we get a lot of, like, I would say the traditional user on Discover is a truly a Web 2.5 user. They're, in my opinion, highly protocol agnostic. They they're looking to learn about crypto. They're looking for an easy way to consume information about crypto, and they're looking for, like, how do I actually get involved with different projects? But like, as you can see here, like, user test, actually like a real user, and I think they created the name as an experiment a very long time ago, but probably like 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. Wow. But like, there's a lot of content on here that's not really always relative to crypto. Like, some people just have their own community where they talk about movies, TV shows, and games, or people have communities about photography or like going outdoors and exploring. We have this new community that's like starting to get some traction about urban exploring, where it's like people going into like abandoned houses or abandoned warehouses and like checking them out. Some of that stuff's pretty scary, but like, I can't imagine like climbing through these old buildings. But it's interesting, the type of users. So it's like you get this intersection of people who are very much interested in crypto. So you can see like very much a crypto post, like paired up with traditional social posts, and you kind of get that interesting intersection of people. And for us, and for us, it's been very interesting to see that deeper cross section, both of those worlds kind of merging together. Like, here's a user, they're doing a mint on Zora, but they're actually doing a mint, like a CNFT mint on Solana, which we're going to help them with, and they want to put a loot box out there to get distribution and grow some users.
So Zora, I haven't even heard. Zora is obviously another blockchain.
Yeah, it's I quite honestly don't know much about it either, but I know it's another blockchain that does focus mostly on NFTs, I think. But they've been experimenting there, and they've been wanting to do a airdrop of CNFTs to Discover users, and the whole purpose of that is you can get a lot of growth on Discover. So if you're doing a small collection of CNFTs on Discover, we'll put it in the loop, build up that collection. We have a whole automated system, and they can put the NFTs in there, like organize them based off rarity, and then set up a distribution plan. And usually that's like, do they follow? The action is, can you follow me, or can you join my community? Or do you have a specific role within a community? And everybody who meets this criteria is able to receive and open up this loot box and receive that airdrop. And so people typically do it to kind of grow a following or grow a community.
Gotcha. And you mentioned just before, there's a difference between product and protocol. So what do you really mean in explain like on 5 terms about the Discover protocol?
Yeah, when we really thought about Discover, it was really about user traction. And so we have Discover.ONE, which is the website that we're presenting, and that's our core product. And this is really just the first website built on top of our protocol. And the protocol that we have is this thing called Social Fabric. And Social Fabric is a social enabled protocol. So it's a social graph that is going to be decentralized and be put in a way that anybody can run it and actually operate their own node and actually contribute to the decentralization of the network in their own way. And for us, we have just not to get too detailed on how the protocol works, but it's a folder system. It's a distributed folder system in a way to think about it. So like, everything on Discover is just a folder, and that folder has content, and content is like a post or comment. So if you think about a folder structure and you think about the root directory, you could just think of like, oh, all these communities are within inside of that root directory as a folder, and within inside those folders is posts and comments. And in theory, you could have more folders within inside of those folders to have sub-communities. And users themselves are just folders. And so those users could have sub-communities in themselves. And just like a folder on your computer, you have different types of roles. Like not everybody can access every folder on your computer if it was public. So you can decide on what type of rules it's required to access those specific folders. So Discover.ONE is just built on top of this protocol. And we think in the future, you'll be able to build any type of application on top of this primitives. And we call these social primitives. And it's really portals, users, and content. And so from that perspective, we just have this like really generic social protocol that's powering Discover at this point in time. And we think it's like, there's a lot of interesting ways to really take the role system within inside of these folders. And so like we have NFT gated communities. And really all that is that you have this service that's running that's saying, do you own this NFT? Yes, we'll give them this role in this community. And so there's these services are constantly running and monitoring. So when you link your wallet to Discover, we can determine, oh, well, you can get access to these specific communities because you get these roles within these communities. And there's also, it works for, non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and fungible tokens. So it's a pretty like dynamic system, but there's so much more that can be applied to that. Like you could do subscription models, purchase model, like some sort of subscription to a community, which then gives you a role based off of your status of your subscription. But like a lot of like users on the platform, they like to create a community. They like to try to grow that community and try to get distribution to that community. So you see a lot of this like distribution mechanic. And then people like this person here, they're like, okay, well, I have a community on Discover, or I'm growing a community. How do I actually like monetize that? So the monetization and distribution part really play a hand in hand, where like that ownership piece is like that, it's like a hierarchy, right? So it's really that the most top point of this is like, do they own it? Yes. Now, how do they monetize it? And how do they get that distribution? So that's really the things that we're focusing on. And developers too, we have, we'll maybe talk about it a little bit later, but we have some more frameworks that we're launching to try to empower developers to help them continue to get that distribution with inside of Discover. But yeah, we get a lot of projects on Discover who test out that type of distribution. So they'll come create a community, grow it, advertise to it with inside of Discover. And so as they're doing product releases, as they're trying to get more attention, they're driving people into their platform to try to get that monetization part. Now that they have the distribution on the platform, they're figuring out, how do I monetize these users? How do I make money off of them?
Gotcha. So obviously, like looking at this is kind of like in some ways a competitor to Twitter, would you say?
That's such a good question. The short answer is no. I think even the long answer is no on that. Like when I think about social, I mean, there's so many social platforms, and there's so many that we probably can't even name, but we can name the big ones. We can name Facebook, we can name Reddit, we can name Twitter, you can name TikTok, then you can start going on Instagram, and then you can name Threads, and then you can start Mastodon, and then you can name Farcaster.
Yeah.
You can just, it's like a rabbit hole, but they all address different types of users. And so like the type, it's a really good question, because the type of user that we typically acquire and hold. So it's like, yeah, you acquire the user, but how long are you holding them? And I think we have like 25% 7-day retention. But like the type of user that we typically acquire, it does not really have a presence on Twitter. They typically don't have a presence on other platforms. And so they're looking for community. So they haven't achieved community on these different platforms, but they're finding community on Discover. And to me, it's really like social really fulfills a basic human need of like being seen and heard. Like I want to be seen and I want to be heard. And so I come to these platforms to create content because I want that basic human need to be fulfilled. And specifically these types of users that we are acquiring, like they're not necessarily getting it on these other platforms, which I find super interesting. But like that's the creator part of the equation. What about the lurker or the consumer? And the consumer is really just finding content and finding they're creating a relationship with the creators that they actually enjoy their content. They want to receive their content, and that's a subset of the users for sure. And then you also get people who are just like lurkers, who are like, oh, what's going on generally within crypto, and what's generally happening from the eye of a typical Discover creator. So from that perspective, I really don't see other platforms as necessarily competitors. I do think like it's all about mindshare. So it's like who's ever achieving the most amount of mind share, and whatever platform's giving it to them will. And so it's up to us to kind of achieve that and give them that dopamine to kind of continue to come back to the platform.
Gotcha. So as I have, although I have an account, I haven't played around. I don't even play too much on Twitter because I'm basically on YouTube.
Yeah.
But obviously, I want to push myself into different social platforms to expand the reach. So I think I've done a post or something quite minimal. Can you talk me through, as a new user, what should I be doing just so that anyone else that's actually signing up now has some sort of basic idea of like what they're going for? And let's
Yeah.
go with in mind maybe the target audience is someone looking for crypto airdrops or alpha or meme coin plays, or as you said, trying to find this kind of target niche community that's, I guess, not being flooded with bots or whatever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, someone who signs up for the platform and creates a post, it's going to be really hard to get traction for it because the social graph that you have on both sides is not sufficient enough to really get that early distribution. And that's actually a really hard problem because it's like, how do we, like, yeah, you've paired like, let's say you've just signed up. Okay. But like, how do we know anything about you other than like, I mean, you could be just a bad actor. You could be somebody who's out there farming content. So it's really about finding content that you like and then trying to engage with it, like writing a comment, trying to bring some insights. And that's a great way to get those original followers, to get people attracted to your content or get people attracted to you as a follower, and then creating content like posting is typically a good way. And I think a lot of people who originally sign up for the platform, people check profiles all the time on Discover. It's pretty much like there's two mechanics. People will hover your name, see like how long have you been on the platform, how many followers you have, and then they'll so that's the portal and the name's below it.
Okay.
And
This,
so they'll
okay.
yeah, and so
Gotcha.
they'll typically go, okay, this person, like this is the Discover team account. And they'll be like, oh, this person has a ton of Discover points, or they've been around on the platform for a while, or they have these specific roles. And then the next is they jump into their profile and to see what type of posts that they've made. And so typically on the platform, a lot of like people who are early to the platform making your original like first GM post. So when people go to your profile, they're like, oh, this person created a post and they maybe describe a little bit about themselves, something about themselves. Having a PFP matters a lot. Having a verified PFP helps a lot too, but it's not always required. And the gold ring is that means it's actually verified, that somebody actually verified that it's a real one. And actually, that's funny. Baby Billy shared that. I don't even know if like there's no way he knows I'm talking to you too. So it's kind of funny. But
And I only just did this because, oh, well, I still need to learn the platform a little bit. But one thing that I like about this, maybe I think I need to go back to my post, is when I share a post on this, it shows it shows the thumbnail fantastically. Whereas when you do it on Twitter, I don't know why they do it like this, but this is what you get, and I hate this. I mean, obviously Twitter doesn't want people to go to YouTube. They don't want to leave. They don't want them to leave. But yeah, um, yeah, no, I'm liking the look of it. So gotcha. So you go, what do you call, like, lurking on people's profiles? Is that what it was called?
yeah, there are a lot of lurkers. They
So
kind
they
of go to the
lurk.
profile, like instantly learn something, try to learn something quickly about them. So Baby Billy's been part of Discover for uh, wow, July of 22. I can't believe it's been that long. But yeah, he's longtime user, quote unquote power user. Found his like has his reach and presence on Discover. Looks like he has an X account, but traditionally finds his presence on Discover itself, and it's really common on Discover, which is actually an issue too. Because like if a lot of our users, especially our power users or our most dedicated users, don't have other social presence, it's hard to get presence on those other platforms. And Twitter is not our biggest acquisition funnel either, but we know that's where crypto is. And if you want to be in the crypto mindshare, you have to be on Twitter in a lot of ways.
You do. So if we go through this, some of this I understand really well. So number of followers, great, decent following some people. He's got these Discover points. I'll have a question on that shortly. And then portals, I have a
Community.
question on that.
So that's how many communities he's part of. He's joined 170 at this point. And so
Cool.
you can go through his list there to see all the different communities he's joined. And different type of badges mean different things. Like if they are an administrator or owner of the community, you can find out pretty quickly.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming there's some communities where you can't actually join unless, like you said, you have an NFT or maybe you have to be accepted or something like that. Is that
So
right?
technically you can join any community, but whether or not you can be post or comment or actually read any of the information within the community is up to the roles. And so there's a lot of like uh, we found this actually really early on that like private NFT gated communities are not fun. So what a lot of people do is they create an NFT, a community that's gated by an NFT, and they make it all public viewable, but the only way to interact with it is to own it. Or the only way to post is to own it. And then sometimes they turn on upvoting. So like we have this really sophisticated rules engine. You can take it like almost any way from a owner perspective. But the idea is that like it's super customizable. So as the zeitgeist changes, our engines kind of like work with it. But yeah,
Okay. Cool. And does this streak mean that they've posted for 169 days straight or something?
they've streaked for 169 days straight. So at the top right, you'll see a lightning bolt. It's kind of blinking. So when you click into
Yeah.
that, it's a kind of a streak, and you can claim your streaks. And so this is a way that users are earning Discover points. They're logging in daily. It helps us understand who are the users that are continuing to be the most dedicated users. And we typically, like when we are doing loot boxes, a big mechanic is an easy mechanic is like how often, what's their reputation, and how often are they streaking. So if they have a longer streak, it's easy to identify, okay, this is a user who's coming back daily.
I like it. Okay. So somebody joins, they sign up, they connect Google or maybe a wallet to try and pump up those numbers. And then they want to try and find some alpha. So I know you mentioned just maybe scrolling the timeline a little bit first, just seeing if there's anything that kind of.
Yeah, so there's a community, Solana Alpha, and I would say 80, 70, 80% of the content on Discover is Solana related at this point. So yeah, there's a community there.
I'm part of it, apparently.
Yeah, and
Would I have had to join them? Or
yeah, you must have joined them, and it's
okay.
actually like a call to action to actually join this community. And so it's like people, if they're scrolling into the, like, you can see there's 19,000 members here. 1,000 posts have been created with inside of it. It's been around since December, so that's probably when we launched. I don't know what's in the marketplace at the top. So there's a marketplace tab here too next to posts. Not sure what they've exactly linked, but we'll see later.
Okay.
And so people
Cool.
like, so like a lot of times if you have an NFT gated community, you can sell on Discover, and it's through either a Magic Eden or Tensor. We have both of those APIs integrated. You can buy the NFT directly on Discover to get access to the community.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And you've got Trade with Jupiter here.
Yeah.
So we can go and connect our wallet. Solflare. And we can just go and give me some soul or whatever we want. Just
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting is like, as we're doing token drops, sometimes like we get a lot of users who are like, hey, can I just like swap this? So we put that on there. But it's actually interesting. Like one of the things that a lot of people who are doing token drops is they're like, I want people who've received something but held it for at least a certain amount of time. Like if
yeah.
people are eventually going to sell a token, but this allows us to actually target a user who's going to hold it for some sort of period of time. And like typically, I think the common request is 2 to 3 weeks. But I mean, we always tell people are eventually going to sell the token. Like, yeah, it's like you can't expect everyone to hold it long term. But it's an interesting mechanic. Like, people have used it to like grow communities, really just focus on that distribution for their project.
And so if a community wants to come and raise this up, is there a way that they can have, as an example, like can we go and claim it and then the end user pay the gas, or does it have to be airdropped?
Yeah, we actually pay the ATA fees right now. It's actually,
Hopefully compression fixes that soon.
I do. As soon as I saw the ZK compression, first thing I checked was for SPLs, and then once I saw the SPL compress decompress, I was like, wow, this could save us quite a bit of money right here. And the thinking there is like wallet. I do think wallet pop ups and wallets are very necessary. provide a lot of security for the user, and confidence. But I do think like for a platform like ours, having wallet pop-ups could be disruptive and is at times disruptive to the user experience. So we've been trying to figure out different ways to work around it. We do have a new mechanic that we might be releasing soon where it does have a wallet pop up where the receiver pays the ATA fees. But TBD, because it's like, I love the seamlessness of like you receive something, you just click a button and then you check your wallet and it just magically shows up. You don't have to like actually sign the transaction. And the concept that we've been trying to stick with is that, as soon as I've paired my wallet, I can forget about it. So I don't have to actually think about in the future, is my wallet still paired to Discover? And the cool thing is that you've logged in. Let's say you use Gmail to log in. You can actually, log in on your phone and still have that connection to your wallet. Yeah, you can't transact from it because it would require a signature, but you can still have that link to your wallet on Discover no matter what device that you're using. And again, it powers a lot of those engines. It really enables the user too. And we're trying to figure out really different mechanics of reducing user to wallet friction and user to like physical transaction signing. But I do think it's like super necessary. It provides a lot of safety for that user and to confirm, am I actually spending money and how much money am I actually spending?
Right. And can you just link just one wallet or multiple wallets?
Oh, an amount of wallets, and like as many as you want. We have wallet pairing for Backpack, Phantom, Solflare, and we also have Matrica integration. So for users who don't want to connect a wallet to a site that they don't necessarily know or new to, but also it's like, I have wallets paired to my Matrica that was a one-time thing. Like the whole process of doing that was difficult because I wanted to make sure that this wallet would never truly see the light of day. But like being able to pair it to a platform was great. So I was like, we should add the Matrica integration because I've already done all the work of pairing my wallet to Matrica. So let's add that integration too. And it takes an intersection of your wallets. So then you assign like your primary wallet. What's my primary wallet? So what's my receiving wallet? So when you're on the platform, you can actually dedicate it to receiving certain wallets.
So I've integrated my one wallet here. I can add another wallet.
Yeah, you could pair your Phantom wallet, and it's just by clicking the button pair.
Can I pair another Solflare wallet?
Oh yeah, that feature's coming. That feature's coming actually.
So for now, when you're looking at people that want to join Discover and they will need to link a wallet, ideally, that they don't sell from very regularly, so that they can actually get those airdrops. Is that?
Yeah, it's like because they want to see the holders, and when we first we actually do the seller or holders based off of historical airdrops on Discover. We actually don't care about previous tokens you've bought and sold. So like when we first started the process off, it was kind of brutal because we were hitting a lot of bad accounts. But like over time, we've like drastically improved the process because we have the historical data of, hey, this user has received this airdrop, and they held it for this long. So like we know that they're a holder and we know that they participate on the platform.
Gotcha. Cool. So a new user comes along, they sign up, they must set a profile picture. Did you say profile picture or an NFT profile picture? Does it matter? Just need to.
It could be either. So like if you actually go to how did you actually set your PFP? I'm actually curious.
This doesn't have my ape in it, so I would have just uploaded it.
So yeah, if you have your paired wallet, use NFT on the right side at the very top. Yeah, and then you could select NFTs with inside of your wallet specifically, and it'll go through like the verification process eventually. But the idea behind that is like you can prove ownership of NFTs and the ownership of a specific NFT on the platform, which helps for like, it does help, but I do think like just having a PFP period is most likely the best route to get that early traction. And as you can see, our verification engine picked it up, gave you the gold ring to say it's verified. And so people who see it were like, oh, wow, this person actually owns this NFT.
Well, that was fast.
It sometimes, some dude, like there's a lot. It's so much data now. Like at first, it was, when you're in a smaller platform, it was pretty fast. But the engines that do each one of these have grown exponential in complexity. So, but the goal is fast. Make it feel seamless too.
Gotcha. And so maybe the other strategy is for a project. Let's say a meme coin project comes along. How should they go about? They should go and create like first, like maybe like a master admin account and then create a portal and start to recruit people into their portal. Would that be
Yeah,
how they would get amongst it?
that this is actually a really common question. So typically we're like, just create a user, like a user that you would use, and then go create a community around that portal. Like reach out to us, we'll help you get the points required. So it takes 500 points to create a community. And we kind of did that to make it burns those points too. And we did that to kind of make sure that users participate on the platform a little bit before joining the community. But we can help you out if you're a legitimate community. We have a whole program to sponsor people to build communities on Discover through Discover points. And yeah, the idea is come on, join. We'll make sure you're the owner of your community. So you'll create your community. You can assign administrators to that community, and you can set up various rules. But like reaching out to us or reaching out to power users on the platform is pretty much the easiest way to get that traction. And like Baby Billy saw your post, so he commented on it. So his comment automatically puts your post into everyone's feed who follows him. So they're not, like, because they follow Baby Billy, they care about his content, so it automatically moves your post into his feed. And it's a huge advantage of like working with the current users on the platform to kind of get them to participate within with your content, which always helps with reach. It gives them the most amount of reach on the platform.
Yeah, great. And so with these points, I mean, 500, if they didn't reach out to you or a power user and they went in every day, what other things could they do to get more points?
Yeah, so posting and commenting. Posting, commenting, and streaking are right now the only way to earn points. And upvotes basically give you points. So creating a post doesn't necessarily give you the points, but people who are actually upvoting your content will start giving you points. But you also earn points in the communities too. So it's like, not to go like too deep on this, but like when you're creating content, a post on Discover, the community, the conversation that's happening within inside of your post actually feeds more points to you, because like you're creating content that's creating value on the platform through discourse, through that discussion. And the most valuable of content is content that creates conversation, right? It creates dialogue between the users to try to make and it becomes shareable, it becomes highly promoted within the feeds. Because of the people commenting on it, it distributes it to their feeds. So there's a lot of mechanics to make things go viral on Discover. And virality is something that, like, how do you make something go viral as quickly as possible on Discover has been something we've been very focused on. And how do you make it so the right users can create viral content on Discover? So like Helium Network, like I don't know how, like we probably have never had a real discussion with them, but a user created the Helium Network community on Discover, and has grown a community around it. I didn't realize there were 15,000 members, but the idea is this is like community run. It's not an official like Helium Network channel, as far as I know. I don't think it is. And so this person is just like deeply cares about that project.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. So it's go ahead.
No, so just on the subject of what are these? These are called Discover points, or what are
Yeah.
these
So
called?
Discover points are like, basically they're this mechanic that we're using to help reward users on the platform. And a lot of it plays into, are they creating content on the platform that has value? And are they creating content on the platform that kind of plays into that virality and plays into that distribution? So it's really like, this is a way of feeding back, and the points are used in a lot of different ways on the platform. Like they're creating communities with them, but we also have a lot of mechanics that we're rolling out around them to help empower the user. But they also play into like, are you receiving rewards on the platform relative to that content you're creating? Because people who are typically receiving points are creating content on the platform that creates more distribution, which creates more virality for the platform. And here's an example of a marketplace. So it's like we had the Discover Pass from a while ago. I think it was last November. And so users, you can actually go into the platform, and we call them keys. And so you can use this key to get specific roles within inside of the community. And I believe, yes, this is a Magic Eden. So one's a Magic Eden integration, one's a Tensor integration. Both of them provided APIs, so we were able to plug directly into those APIs. And because you already have a wallet, you're able to transact from our platform by purchasing directly on the platform. So it's like,
so I've clicked on it. I'm going to try and buy it.
Yeah, the floor is not too bad on it.
So I buy it, and then I'll get access to Planet Solana.
So you'll get access to this community. So this community's marketplace. So this community most likely has roles dedicated to specific NFTs. So we called it the Planet Solana release. So when we were, releasing on Solana, was it launching on Solana last December or November? We created this like whole marketing campaign called Planet Solana. And we called it the Explorer Passport. So the Explorer Passport gives you access to the Daily Dose community, and the Daily Dose community has specific rules based off specific rules based off roles that attribute to airdrops happening on Discover or within inside of their community in particular.
Okay. Yeah. So I've bought this, I've joined. Now what do I do?
Yeah, it should eventually you'll get a role within the community. And so as you can see on the right, there's different roles. The OG, the member role, the admin, and I believe you'll get an OG role by owning the passport. And kind of a weird thing is the only way to see what role you have in the community is to comment.
Love it. I'm currently a member, but it will change.
this one might take a minute. It's interesting because it's like as this like feature took off. So like it's something dynamic as a portal owner that you can set up. I mean, I think there's like something like 5,000 to 10,000 different NFTs relative to roles gating within inside of communities. And a lot of the gating is just giving you the role, less so much rules on participation. Because it's like people want to see, oh, this person's different because why are they different? So they hover over the name and oh, this person has these specific roles, so I want to I'll upvote them, or I'll most likely follow them or participate. And like as you probably know, within social, there's Sybil, right? Like bots are real things. Like bots exist within social, and so a way that Web3 users typically differentiate themselves is through their asset graph. It's like, hey, I own these NFTs. I have these roles within these communities because I own it. And you could be like, let's say you see an NFT of like a Mad Lads and it's verified. The chances of that person being a bot, super low. I mean, that would be one fancy bot. But there's like there's the Mad, like, and so this is not like, I don't think we've talked to Mad Lads about this community in particular. This is like just a fan who's like, oh, I want to like post alpha on Mad Lads. And so that was posted a day ago. So I wonder where they're getting the content, but I'm pretty sure they're part of their Discord, they're part of the Telegram, they're part of the Twitter, and they're reposting a lot of content on Discover because it's earning them points, right? Because they get the upvotes, they get the points, so they're bringing the content. And it's kind of interesting is that like that's just it's a cycle, right? So this person's a content creator, not only a community owner, but a content creator. And so they're continuing to earn by bringing more information to the platform. And
gotcha.
Yeah, and it's like, there's always going to be an interesting scenario. Portal naming is something I've thought about so much. And there's a lot of ways to think about it. Because eventually you're going to have someone who creates like Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola could be like, hey, I want my community. And you're like, well, it's on the blockchain, dude. So we're going to figure that one out. But I do think portal naming conventions need to be thought about deeply. I think Web3 social, it's going to have a lot of interesting scenarios like that in the future, as traditional Web2. Yeah.
So you know how there's people out there that have a knack for branding, so they go and buy particular domain names, blah blah.com, blah blah .link, blah blah .xyz. Are you saying they could potentially go and do that with portals now, but unfortunately you don't have your policy out on how it's going to work in the future?
Well, like one is we're not going to retroactively make a change that would remove the ability of someone owning a community or having a community renamed. Um, and astroturfing is what they typically call it. So you're going out there and buying like whatever you see a new company, you instantly check, do they have a .com? All right, I'm gonna go grab it. Or do they have a .xyz or something? I'm gonna go grab it. Do they have the Twitter handle? I do think there is going to be a different style of convention on Discover. Like a big thing that we've been looking and researching is actually like NFT ownership on Discover or communities as NFTs. And like, what would that actually be like? So this is an NFT sitting on Solana's blockchain. It has this specific type of metadata embedded within it, and it has this multi-sig or single owner that actually owns it. And like, this is now Discover automatically discovers this NFT and now makes it part of Discover social graph and this part of searchable with inside of Discover. And I do think like there's going to be you would have to come up with a naming convention or a way to have names that could have this, a community could have the same name. And I think that has to happen. That has to happen. And I think they just totally represent different styles of it could personas within a single community. And I think that's going to be, to me, that speaks more to the ethos than anything else. Like you can have a token, you can have 2 WIF tokens, you can have 100 bonk tokens, but everyone knows what's the real bonk token. Everyone knows what's the real WIF token. So I think that paradigm is going to have to take place in the future of Web3 social. And it's also a complex one with names. But one thing I wanted to bring up too is, developer distribution to us has been an ongoing conversation. Like, how do we make sure, how do you take a developer from 0 to 1? And I think everybody in crypto this has been their kind of thought. And we've experimented with endless amount of different types of interfaces to allow that. Like years ago or last year we had a way of embedding JSON applications, but like it didn't facilitate the user, the developer in a way that would make the process seamless. We experimented with frames earlier this year, and we felt there's a lot there. And I felt like it targeted a subset of users, but there was a lot of these friction points. And I think Blinks on Twitter is going to be or on X is going to be super interesting experiment. I think there's a lot of depth there. Let's see, like I'd be very interested to see the personas of the type of users who are interacting with Blinks on X. But like the framework, we're going to be rolling out a framework pretty soon. The idea behind this framework is to allow developers to develop in the native way that they are used to with creating web applications and allow them to embed them directly inside of Discover posts in a very secure way. So like we're spending a lot of time on security on this just to make sure we've covered everything. But the idea is I just want to be a developer who I use React, I use Vue, I use Velta, whatever, right? And I just want to make something that users can interact with instantly and embed it right inside of Discover itself. And for us that's the next iteration of doing this. We wanted to create a way that it wasn't extremely opinionated. Like Frames was great. I think Blinks is great. But I do think they actually fit in within this paradigm also. To us, they're just a type of application that gets embedded into Discover that allows it to embed other applications. Not to go inception on this, but I do think like we want to step up that level to allow people to develop more robust applications. And we saw this a lot with our arcade. People were making apps, they embedded it into the arcade, but they wanted to be like, hey, can I access the user's paired wallet? Can I make a request? And I think the arcade is near the top. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So like we created this game, Pac-Man game. Someone actually created it and gave it to us. I actually haven't played it in ages, but the idea was something that was completely like verifiable. So like once you play this game, it verifies like every keystroke you do and every movement you do, plays it against an engine that determines if you cheated or not. And so we were like, okay, that's interesting, but like, how do you like? The Discover user exists, all the paired wallets exist, like everything's already there. How do we intersect those? So once we started getting more of these, we were like, there's an engine here that we need to explore. And so that's actually, we have our internal release in like 2 weeks, and probably not too soon after we have our external release. But the idea there is like is exactly like the Blinks narratives. Like, how do you give distribution to app developers? How do you take somebody and be like, hey, here's 10,000 users right now? And I do think like there's a lot of ways to think about it. Like a link on Twitter, yeah, I can get a lot of like people interested in it, but like there's got to be a way to bring insights on this application directly within the feed. Like, how much of your social graph has actually used this application? How much of your social graph has interacted with it? How much of your asset graph has actually been using this application? And to us, those type of mechanics that we've been using with loot boxes is actually going to be an interesting mechanic into app distribution. And I think there's, from a technology perspective, a lot of people have been circling around the concepts, but for us, our unique approach is like, we have the social graph, we have the asset graph. So how can this empower app distribution with inside of Discover itself? And like we talk about, Pump.Fund's been in the news constantly, super interesting, but like it'd be interesting of like, okay, so here's my social graph, here's my asset graph. Who have who have my friends have actually been using Pump.Fund, right? So it's like we want to really reveal that information to users and allow them to discover new content through algorithmic driven feeds, which we're doing in algorithmic driven app distribution. So that's been something that has been important to us, but also building the right framework. Like how do you reduce as much friction from the user's perspective as possible and make it stupid simple for them to just simply plug into an application, but still maintain the ownership of their application and the presence of their application. And so we'll have a lot more information in the next month or so about how that will work and some of the partners that we're working with to make that happen. We also have a hackathon that we'll be doing once this is launched. And the idea there is like, hey, let's kick the tires on this. Let's figure out what is the depths that we can take this. But the idea is like really having this deep, rich, interactive experience directly from the feed while providing developers a native environment that they're already used to.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, it sounds. I'm excited. I'm like super. Tech makes me super excited. So, so it's like really like pushing the boundaries on like what is possible. But to me, like without the distribution, without the users, it makes it really difficult. So I think we have on one side, we have all these users who are very interested in crypto. They're interested in this like interactive experience. The other side, it's like, let's pair developers with it. Let's build this community and focus on like, hopefully is developing as much open source technology as possible. Like open source, that's how you bring on new developers because they can go in there, read the code, understand the approaches that you take, and either take your approach or come up with their own way of doing it. And I think open source technology is truly the foundation of building really powerful Web3 applications.
Sounds good. I agree. Well, I mean, this was very enlightening. I'm going to start getting far more into Discover, see if I can build a little bit of a portal. But you know what? I'll get the 500 points myself. So,
dude, I like that. I like that.
no need for any special points handouts. Just last question: the points, like there's nothing planned for them yet, or anything like that, right? Or there's nothing. I mean, I'm not fishing for anything. I'm just wondering if I missed something.
No, we just don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
It's like, a lot of times we were like, it's karma. It's like it's karma on Discover at this point in time. But burn mechanics to me are important. But like, it's really interesting is like you may get your 500 points and be like, dude, do I really want to burn them for a community? So it's been an interesting paradigm with users. Is like, yeah, do you really want to burn your karma? But yeah, and it's as a longtime Reddit user, you can burn your karma by like really creating some content that does not meet with social norms in certain ways. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, if I invite friends, I get rewards. I'm guessing with points as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. Totally forgot about that. Just so many things. Yeah. So you get your share link or your invitation actually gets you a percent of points earned by people that you've invited. Yeah, and I think like the the referral system has been super effective. There's a lot of tweaking to it, lots of tweaking to it, but in general, it's been a very like interesting way of really growing, allowing people to grow their social graph, and it also like gives you those early followers. So when people are joining the platform, that they have people that they follow. The counter follow, that's always the tricky one. How do you give someone like surfacing that? That's something that we've been focused on, but tricky. It's super tricky.
Okay. And by the way, is there any way to DM someone on this?
Not yet.
Okay.
You know, like we talked about this one, and I really believe in integrations. Like to me, it's like, yeah, that's why we're so focused on this, like building the right technology to allow people to go from 0 to 1. Is like to me, I want to like create the primitive of a social framework and a social platform. But my goal would be is like, how do we just plug into other applications that have existing DMing, and how do we just pull that right into Discover to make that user experience seamless? So it's like, to me, it would be great if there's like, here's a Web3 company that has their DMing or has DMing technology, uh, and it's simple to integrate within Discover. It would be great to just give that to the user. And yeah, and if you're like, if developers listening, you know, well, let's talk, let's integrate, let's build something together. To me, that's where I have the most amount of fun, is like bringing something together that gives a lot of people distribution, and it helps grow distribution for users on Discover.
Sounds cool. Any last words or alpha or anything you want to mention regarding your cool DApp
Yeah,
before?
again, if you're a developer, reach out. If you have a project, reach out. If you want distribution, test out distribution. Let's experiment. Like, you never like, it's really hard to tell what always works. Our community team has a pretty good sense of like, okay, I have this project. This is the content that it relates to. Let's work with you on developing or positioning the content that speaks best to the user. And I think BR.ONE was somebody we worked with a while ago. And it was really just like, this is the content that'll work. If this image shows up right in the feed, if it looks like this, it says these words, you're going to get a ton of upvotes, you're going to get a ton of traction. And there was a couple others that we've done the same thing with, but like, reach out. DMs are open. The community is always open and wanting to listen.
How do people reach out to you
Yeah,
or
Telegram,
Discover?
Telegram or Twitter. The Discover.ONE, the Discover.ONE Twitter account has so many DMs, but people eventually get to them for sure.
That's fine. It's funny.
Oh, dude, no, trust me. Like, it's like we have hello at Discover.ONE. It'll get it gets a lot of inbounds. I'll set it, put it in chat.
Yeah. Okay. So they can, you can send something there, but you may get spammed.
We just get so many inbounds that it's tough. It's tough to manage them all. And I think hello Discover.ONE will get to top of community's inbox like right away. Someone's always on checking Twitter DMs. A lot of inbounds come through Twitter DMs, and it's like, let's be real. A lot of crypto is happening on X, and I think that's actually I don't think it's a problem. I think it's great. I think it's the specific type of persona of projects and users that are on X may or may not get the right distribution that they would want on Discover, and I think that's like perfectly fine. I do think like, if you are somebody who's really interested in learning more about Web3 social and you want to participate in a platform, like reach out, sign up, tag me on Discover at Rick Porter while creating a post. I check every single one of my tags, and we'll have a conversation.
At Rick Porter?
Oh, RCKPRTR. I'm
RCK
PRTR. No vowels.
Okay, yeah.
And no at. You don't have to do the at.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's like when I
what did I misspell it again? Or is it still loading?
Maybe it's
Here you are.
Yeah.
Here you are. I found you.
I wonder if it's loading.
I found you.
Yeah, just you can click in, follow me. Yeah, and as you can see, it's been quite a bit of time on the platform, but
yeah, but you've taken your streak is not it needs to be higher. Billy has a higher streak.
So I missed 2 days. So if you miss a day, you lose 7 days, right? But what is interesting is like to really have a maximum streak, you have to be on time. So if you have 24 hours to streak it, right? So like it's
Yeah.
been beginning of year. So there's people who are like 3 weeks ahead because they're consistent. They're like within the first like 10, 15 minutes, they're getting that streak. So they're definitely, it's just impossible to keep up with the people who are like have the maximum streak. But if you miss a day, you lose 7. And we know we used to like kill their whole streak, but it's like people need time off. And like another thing that we're looking at is how to use the Discover Pass to give you kind of like a day off or streak blocker. So
Oh, yeah. Cool. Before I saw there was a countdown timer, and now that countdown timer is gone.
refresh the page. Let's see.
Okay, there it is.
There we go.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
so there's a it was probably on a different tab which you claim the streak, and the other tab just unaware.
Gotcha. We're all good. Whew. I don't want to lose my streak when I've only just started.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, for sure. And thank you for the time, man. It was great meeting you in Turkey. But yeah, please, if you have questions, reach out and if you have any kind of like, hey, I would love to see this on Discover, or I would love to see these types of integrations, reach out too. We're always looking for some sort of something new to introduce to our community.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. This has been very, very insightful, longer than what I wanted to do, but I liked it. I like it. So I'm going to get busy on Discover, and I'm going to work out how I can make myself a portal for the group, for the subscribers, for anyone that's watching this. Thanks again. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.